Pope Leo XIV starts his apostolic journey to Lebanon with appeal for daily commitment to peace. Finance Minister applauded as 8.58 billion budget passes. The Senate introduces toll-free line in a bid to curb abuse of office. And in other news, Cameroon President Paul Biya's rival dies in detention. We have this and more. Stay with us. Pope Leo XIV began his apostolic journey to Lebanon with an address to civil authorities, representatives of civil society and members of the diplomatic corps at the presidential palace in Beirut, delivering his first remarks on Lebanese soil. Reflecting on the central theme of his visit, Braced are the peacemakers, the Holy Father stressed that peace in Lebanon is not merely an ideal to pursue, but a dire necessity shaped by the nation's rich culture, fabric, and contemporary challenges. We have a Vatican News report read by Patrick Popper.
The Pope reminded Lebanon's leaders that peace is both a desire and a vocation, urging them to cultivate it with perseverance and responsibility. He praised the resilience of the Lebanese people, noting that they do not give up despite economic and social hardships. This determination, he said, remains a vital foundation for rebuilding the nation and moving forward with confidence. Calling on leaders to remain close to their communities, especially young people, Pope Leo encouraged them to speak the language of hope, a language that has enabled Lebanon always to start again. He underlined that institutions and public officials must draw inspiration from the lived experiences and aspiration of their people. The Holy Father also emphasized that sustainable peace demands a sincere confrontation with past wounds. Reconciliation, he said, requires patience, truth, and honesty. Turning to the challenge of youth immigration, Pope Leo acknowledged the uncertainty that forces many young Lebanese to seek opportunities abroad. While recognizing the contribution of the Lebanese diaspora worldwide, he stressed that the Church does not want anyone to be forced to leave their country. He appealed for conditions that enable young people to build their futures at home and aid the nation to avoid both sectionalism and nationalism, recalling the call of Fratelli Tutti to balance local identity with the global openness. The Pope further highlighted the invaluable role of the woman in Lebanese society, noting their special capacity for peacemaking and their ability to foster and strengthen their social bonds. The full participation, he said, is indispensable for authentic renewal, and he added that young people who remain in or return to Lebanon contribute decisively to restoring a country full of life. Concluding his address, Pope Leo XIV reaffirmed that peace requires daily commitment from leaders and institutions. Dialogue, he insisted, even when marked by disagreement, is the path that leads to reconciliation. He encouraged all in attendance to embrace responsibility for building a Lebanon rooted in unity, truth, and hope.
Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of Lilongwe, Right Reverend Vincent Mokawa, has urged Catholics to maintain relevance and preference during the Eucharistic celebration, stressing that the Mass must not be interrupted even in difficult circumstances. He made the appeal on Sunday during a pastoral visit to St. Paul's Church at Ndevu Outstation and St. Peter's Namitete Parish, where he met and encouraged members of the Holy Childhood Association. Talesian Sisters Project Coordinator Sister Talisa Mlenga has encouraged women to use the skills gained through fashion and design training to become self-reliant and contribute to both the church and national development. She made the remarks during a certificate awarding ceremony at Mtimaoila Parish, where women completed a 3-month fashion and design training under a pilot empowerment project introduced by the Talesian Sisters. Charity Chilanga with the details.
Sister Mlenga said the training is part of the congregation's broader commitment to liberating people from different forms of slavery, a mandate rooted in their charism and reaffirmed during their recent general chapter. She explained that the initiative at Mtimawera Parish is a pilot project aimed at testing the practicality and impact of women's empowerment programs before the congregation establishes a Raja Women's Development Center outside Lilongwe. Sister Mlenga expressed satisfaction with the outcomes, saying the progress made in just 3 months exceeded expectations, even though the original plan was to run the program for 6 months. She further highlighted that while the Teresian sisters have previously trained women in different dioceses, they now plan to establish a permanent development center in Balaka by 2026, offering skills such as sewing, cooking, soap making, farming and other income-generating activities.
As a congregation, already we have been training women, but we train them in different dioceses, following them to different places. But for now, we are now intending to open a development center in Baraka, where the women will be going for a period that will be agreed for them to be trained in the different things like sewing, cooking, soap making, but they also be trained in maybe some different farming activities.
Trainer Grace Chanza Gondoi said the tailoring skills will not only support the women economically, but also reduce their vulnerability to gender-based violence by enabling them to generate their own income. One of the beneficiaries, Precious Piri, said the skills she has gained will help her support her family, noting that she now plans to open a tailoring shop after previously staying idle at home. The women have undergone training for 3 months and are now able to make shirts, dresses, bags and other items. 20 women were enrolled in the program and 14 successfully graduated.
The Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiatives, CDED, has introduced a toll-free number aimed at enabling Malawians to anonymously report corruption, fraud, and abuse of office. The announcement was made during a press briefing held Wednesday in Lilongwe. CDED Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa said the organization wants citizens to play an active role in safeguarding public resources, stressing that Malawi can only win the fight against corruption if people begin reporting wrongdoings without fear. Emmanuel Chocha reports.
Namiwa noted that every 5 years, Malawians elect members of parliament, councillors, and the president. Yet some of these leaders end up abusing their power and mismanaging taxpayers' money once in office. He said the new reporting platform is intended to empower citizens to hold duty bearers accountable. He revealed that the toll-free number 4384 is accessible to both TNM and Airtel subscribers, allowing Malawians from all corners of the country to report bad malpractices at no cost.
In fact, the major setback that exercise faced was that we wanted a formal channel where the results should be accepted to all. We are a credible organization, we are a serious organization. Now, I think the coming in of the toll-free line solves that puzzle because we want Malawians to participate in a way of voting. However, what started like a People Power Forum will continue. We remember we invited 2 cabinet ministers then, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Honorable Richard Achimwendo Banda, and the Minister of Finance then, Simplicity Chola Banda. They remain our candidates. In fact, they will be the first to appear in that forum because they were named publicly, and the exercise or the initiative will continue with the current cohort of members of parliament, members of the cabinet, and what have you.
During the press briefing, Namiwa also highlighted concerns over the past deal under the previous Democratic Progressive Party DPP administration, where government reportedly paid $5 million to Indonesia, an Israel theme registered in Cyprus. The company was contracted to establish 30 acres high-valued vegetable farm at Kamuzu International Airport, but Malawians are yet to benefit from the project despite continued production and export of crops such as tomatoes, vegetables, and watermelons. Seeded is now demanding that Indonesia repays the fund, arguing that public resources cannot be allowed to benefit foreigners in Tetes, while Malawians gain nothing in return. Seeded remained committed to working hand in hand with Malawians to expose abuse of power, corruption, and exploitation of citizens. He further warned that the organization will soon begin naming and shaming individuals found to be engaging in such acts. In conclusion, Seeded says the toll-free reporting line marks a renewed push to make Malawi a better corruption-free nation where public resources are used for benefits of all citizens. For Luntha News, in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Chuocha.
You are still watching news on Luntha Television with me, Fales Chizombe. Another look at our top stories before we proceed. Pope Leo XIV starts his apostolical journey to Lebanon with appeal for daily commitment to peace. Finance Minister applauded as 8.5 trillion kwacha budget passes. Seeded introduces toll-free line in a bid to curb abuse of office. And in other news, Cameroon President Paul Biya's rival dies in detention. Moving on with our news, healthy expert George Jobe has raised alarm over the increasing availability and consumption of sugary soft drinks among children, warning that the trend is contributing to rising cases of diabetes and other sugar-related illnesses. Jobe has noted that many of the fizzy drinks on the market, some imported from neighboring countries, contain extremely high sugar levels, yet parents continue to pack these beverages in school bags. He urges that children and adolescents are consuming excessive amounts of sweetened products, including energy drinks, which puts them at a greater risk of long-term healthy complications. Judy Fogan has more on this report.
Jobe said there is an urgent need for intensified awareness campaigns so that communities understand the dangers associated with high sugar intake, especially among young people. While acknowledging that the body needs some sugar, he stressed that current consumption patterns far exceeded safe limits and required immediate intervention. He has since recommended the introduction of a levy or tax on sugary drinks to make them less affordable, urging that such a measure could significantly reduce intake and help protect the health of Malawi's children.
We have many fizzy drinks or soft drinks that have high concentration of sugar being sold in the country. Some are coming from neighboring countries. And unfortunately, parents and guardians are using these fizzy drinks they are giving their children these fizzy drinks when going to school or when a child is crying, which in a way is now increasing sugar levels in our children. The same drinks are consumed quite a lot by adults, including energy drinks. So there's need for a lot of awareness raising to the people so that they know the negative effects of sugar. Apart from that, our bodies also need sugar.
Jobe has since emphasized that without strong policy action and public education, the country will continue to see a surge in preventable lifestyle diseases driven by unchecked sugar consumption. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Judith Organ.
Parliament has passed the 8.58 trillion Marikwacha 2025-2026 media budget, with Finance Minister Joseph Mwanamveka expressing satisfaction after receiving full support from both sides of the House. Mwanamveka said the revised financial plan includes an additional 512 billion kwacha after several ministries and departments exhausted their initial allocations ahead of time, forcing government to adjust funding to sustain operations for the remaining half of the fiscal year. The finance minister was speaking after the parliament overwhelmingly supported the media budget of 2025-2026. We have more in this report filed by Gift Kalonga.
Presenting the budget, the Minister of Finance expressed satisfaction with the unanimous support from both sides of the House, saying the approval is crucial for sustaining government programs and services. In the revised financial plan, government has allocated an additional 512 billion kwacha after several ministries and departments exhausted their initial allocations before the expected timelines. On the issue of the funding for the office of Deputy Vice President, the minister clarified that the office will for now receive its funding through the office of the President and Cabinet, but will have its own vote in the next budget. He also stressed that his role is centered on financial management, not criminal investigations, noting that other institutions are mandated to handle such matters.
Pension funds for our people that have already retired but are suffering as we speak now. We have provided there 196 billion kwacha. The thinking is that we need to clear, but I think we cannot allow the pensioners to continue suffering. So that also has been covered, and also there is the interest charges for the loans that we have borrowed, and those are mandatory. So I think basically that's what I would say, where we have spent, or maybe partly OPC and the like. So it was mandatory that we have to provide for those. Otherwise, operations in those particular ministries and departments, they should have stopped. I wanted to provide that. With regard to the office of the second vice, I want also to assure that the resources for the second vice president, they are there, they are provided for in the office of the president and cabinet. That's why you see him having meetings, traveling, because all those expenses have been covered in the office. If you may recall, there was no specific vote in the previous, no specific vote for second vice president. I assume that as we proceed, particularly when we are coming to the new budget, I should be able to see whether we could have a separate vote for the second vice president.
Member of Parliament for the Zakasina, Joshua Malango, congratulated the minister on the passing of the budget, saying MPs had raised several questions during the deliberations and sought clarification on key allocations, which were duly addressed before approval.
Well, yes, I should say congratulations to the Minister of Finance for the budget which we, as a House, has passed. Yes, I did rose on a number of occasions to ask questions and some clarifications. This is the normal because as you might have followed the deliberations, there are other critical departments which the ministry has reallocated funds, and the other also votes which the funds, instead of maybe in our view supposed to increase, they have reduced, but he has given a proper explanations, and we have reviewed that the funds which the House has passed, they are going to do its intended purpose as for the benefit of Malawians.
Meanwhile, the Parliament has passed the mid-year budget of 2025-2026 and the House has adjourned to Tuesday, 2nd December 2025. For Luntha News, this is Gift Kalonga.
Human resource expert Byri Mani has encouraged managers and HR professionals to adopt a more deliberate and strategic approach to employee performance management, saying stronger performance systems are key to driving organizations' growth and accountability. Limani made the call during a balanced scorecard training held in Luntha on 1st December, which brought together more than 50 HR practitioners and line managers. The session focused on practical areas such as the fundamentals of performance management, the performance cycle, performance calibration, and how the balanced scorecard can be applied in organizations. Participants said the training gave them practical tools they can use in their daily work. One of the participants, Hossein Muyawa, said he now has a clear understanding of how the balanced scorecard can support staff development and improve results. Muyawa explains.
Okay, so from the training that we have had today, it was a very fruitful and informative training. The first thing that I've learned is about it improves performance measurement. It shows how an employee is performing at that particular organization or at that particular company. Another thing is that it increases accountability because it really shows how an employee is how capable she is or he is at that particular organization in terms of task that she or he is given. So it gives a score of how she or he is performing, and it improves communication. If the employee is not doing well, we communicate because the balanced scorecard clearly shows how an employee is performing and how she or he is, maybe it's improving or yes. So we really had a good time. It was a very fruitful training.
And another news, the death of Cameroonian opposition figure Ansett Ekene was confirmed on Monday by his lawyer, marking a dramatic trend in the political tensions that have gripped the country since last month's disputed presidential election. Ekene had been in detention since 24th October when authorities launched a sweeping crackdown on post-election protests across several cities. We have an African News report read by Patrick Pooper.
Security forces arrested dozens of opposition activists in operations that human rights groups have described as heavy-handed. The government accused Ekene of backing opposition politician Issa Chiroma, who controversially declared himself the winner of the presidential poll. Authorities dismissed Chiroma's declaration as an act of subversion, prompting a nationwide clampdown. The rights group says dozens of people were killed during the ensuing arrest as clashes between protesters and security forces escalated in multiple regions. The government has not released an official death toll. Chiroma, who has since fled the country and is reportedly seeking political asylum in Gambia, further deepening the crisis within Cameroon's opposition landscape. Ekene's party, the African Movement for New Independence and Democracy, had raised alarms on 21st November, accusing police of confiscating the politician's vital medical equipment during his arrest in Dora. The party said Ekene's oxygen concentrator was left inside his impounded vehicle. African Movement for New Independence and Democracy described the confiscation as a gravely dangerous to Iken's fragile health, stressing that the long-time leftist leader had been a key figure in Cameroon's political opposition. His death is expected to intensify calls for accountability over the treatment of detainees during the post-election crackdown.
That news item concludes our today's news bulletin. Another look at our top stories before we go. Pope Leo XIV starts his apostolic journey to Lebanon with appeal for daily commitment to peace. Finance Minister applauded as 8.5 trillion kwacha budget passes. CDET introduces toll-free line in a bid to curb abuse of office. And in other news, Cameroon President Paul Biya's rival dies in detention. I've been Fales Chizombe. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.